You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point. Coming up on Focal Point, a presidential campaign trail rolls through East Lansing.
Stronger together is not just a slogan for my mother, but love trumps hate isn't a slogan either.
How Chelsea Clinton is getting students to say, "I'm with her."
East Lansing City Clerk has been disappointed with voter turnout in local elections over the past few years. The shocking numbers up next on Focal Point News. Coming up on Focal Point, find out how first-time Michigan voters are casting their ballots this election season.
Focal Point starts now.
Good evening, I'm Julie Dunmeyer.
And I'm Michaela Colonna. Welcome to Focal Point.
The election season is heating up and many students will be casting their first ballots in November.
And with both presidential candidates looking for the millennial vote, Chelsea Clinton made a stop in East Lansing, urging students to vote for her mom. Lines wrapped around the student union as Hillary hopefuls waited to hear the former and possibly next first daughter speak on behalf of her mom.
I've always been with Hillary. I was really excited when she ran before and didn't get the nomination, so I'm super excited now that she did get it.
Others like Glenn Miller saw this as the perfect opportunity for MSU students to become informed on the issues surrounding the election season.
We're about to inherit many of the problems, many of the responsibilities. We need to know what we're about to get into. We need to know what we're about to do.
This is the third presidential campaign to visit Michigan State University in less than a year, and students and residents of Lansing and East Lansing came out to show their support.
I'm so humbled to be able to introduce the daughter of the next president, Chelsea Clinton.
Chelsea touched on her mother's plan for student loan debt.
Federal loans would automatically reset to the prevailing interest rate. That'll save people on average about $2,000 a year.
The handling of sexual assault claims on college campuses.
We need to work with campuses so that the ecosystem here understands that surviving doesn't stop after a week or a month or a year.
And the negative rhetoric that has dominated the campaign.
I didn't think that I would see in my lifetime, I certainly didn't think I would ever see in my children's lifetime, the almost normalization of hate speech that we are hearing from the Republican nominee and that we are not hearing largely disputed from the Republican Party.
And with the election right around the corner, students felt that Chelsea's speech solidified their vote for Hillary.
It's so great just to hear the extra, oh, she did this, and it's just like, wow, this could be our very next president.
Thank you. Please don't forget to register to vote or turn out to vote on November 8th.
For Focal Point News,
Thank you very much.
I'm Michaela Colonna. But Hillary supporters were not the only ones to attend the event. A handful of students from MSU's college Republicans protested outside of the student union. "We want Ivanka," "Hillary for prison," and "I'm not with her" were only a few of the slogans the student group made in response. And although these students disagree with the Clinton platform, they say it still does not guarantee their vote for the Republican nominee.
Not necessarily saying I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, I'm saying I'm not going to vote for Hillary, and I think that's a position a lot of people who think that way are in. But some people will end up voting for Trump merely because we do not want Hillary Clinton in the presidency.
Meantime, Donald Trump is in Michigan today with private fundraisers in Grand Rapids and Metro Detroit, along with a rally in Novi beginning at 5 p.m.
While Secretary Clinton and Trump fight it out on the presidential front, East Lansing officials are just trying to get student voters more in touch with local candidates. Focal Point's Whitney Burney tells us how East Lansing officials are working to get more students to the polls.
In a city where most students live 8 months out of the year, there's a minimal turnout at the polls. So why aren't students voting?
I didn't vote in the last election only because I wasn't registered to vote in East Lansing.
Just because I never got the chance to really register, and it wasn't like a big election, I guess, so I just didn't view it as something I needed to do.
I didn't vote last year because I wasn't registered like I should have been, but I did take the initiative to vote this year.
I wasn't really aware we had any elections going on.
Clearly the trend is that students are less interested in local elections. They're a little bit more interested in the off-year or even-year gubernatorial elections, much more interested, obviously, in the presidential elections.
East Lansing City Clerk Marie Wicks says that she tries to work with student groups to connect to students on campus, registering them locally and encouraging them to vote. Imagine that this large pile of jewels is Michigan State's student body. There's about 1,500 of them here. This would represent how many of them voted in last year's local election. In the 2013 local election, around 139 students voted on campus out of nearly 47,000, 25 in 2014. That number dwindling with each year.
And of course, we thought we'd made a lot of progress, and we were trying to beat that stellar number of 25 from the 2013 election. 2015 rolls along. Last November, we got 26. So we were pretty crushed.
Wick says she believes the on-campus policies restrict candidates from campaigning in a meaningful way on campus.
It was easier for candidates to campaign on campus. Now, for security reasons, which I clearly understand, the doors aren't open the way they used to be. And we know that a certain age group is going to be transient anyway, so if you're going to go live in Detroit for 2 years and then move on to somewhere else, is that going to stop you from voting? It shouldn't.
Wick says she expects to see more student voters in this year's election because of the presidential candidates on the ballot, and can only hope for more in the next years. In East Lansing, Whitney Burney, Focal Point News.
The last day to register to vote in this year's election is October 11th. You can visit your county or city clerk for more information.
And with Election Day less than 2 months away, students on campus are anxious to head to the polls, but many are concerned that they won't be able to vote.
Hey man, you registered to vote? Yeah. Excellent.
The 15th Amendment of the United States Constitution.
But can I get an absentee ballot?
You actually can't absentee your first time voting.
You can?
Yeah.
Exercised by adult citizens of the United States since 1870, it's a right that gives many pride.
If you care about what your community is like, if you care about what the country is like, if you care about basically the future and anyone else that lives here in the United States in your local area, then that's why it's important to vote.
But it's the absentee voting system that has left many first-time voters wondering how they're going to cast their ballots.
You registered to vote?
I am, but not in Lansing.
Would you like to change your address?
Yes. Sophomore social relations and policy major Elizabeth Cadotte is from Livonia, Michigan, just over an hour drive from campus. She registered to vote via mail with plans to vote absentee.
I just knew that I wouldn't have the time to go in person because I was here and I was, working and I was in school. And if I had to go, it would have been a Saturday, and the lines are really long, so it just would not have been efficient.
Secretary of State spokesman Fred Woodham says she won't be able to do so.
So for MSU students who registered to vote through the mail, they would not be able to vote absentee. They would have to vote in person at their polling location. So that would not be an option for them.
He said this rule is enacted to prevent voter fraud.
The intention there is to ensure that people are who they say they are and that there is a real person behind that name who registered to vote.
First-time voters will be able to vote absentee by mail as long as they register in person at their local Secretary of State or Township Clerk's office. But the confusion has left many students, like electrical engineering freshman Ryan Aridi, feeling confused.
It's like an arena. You're given a sword, which is your ballot. You're given a shield, which is information. And then you just go in there and you have no idea what's going on. It's all from experience.
And others like Elizabeth are trying to figure out how she is going to vote in November.
I'm still not really sure what I'm going to do because I really want to vote. I think it's important. So I don't really know yet. I'm just going to have to get home somehow.
In East Lansing, Michaela Colonna, Focal Point News. Secretary of State Ruth Johnson will be sending a mobile office to the Rock on October 7th to make it easier for students to register.
The Meridian Township Police Department hopes to get new body cameras for officers soon. Behind much controversy on social media and many protests, federal agencies urge police departments to wear body cameras. Meridian Police received body cams in 2015, funded through a grant, but after struggling with durability, the department requested new cameras in next year's budget.
The ones that we initially tried out, there were technical problems basically that they failed. And then they also caused network problems here, and they were basically out of service more than we ever even tested or deployed them.
The new cameras will come from a company called Taser Axon. They also make the department's stun gun. Pending the approval of the 2017 budget by the Township Board, the MPD will receive their cameras sometime next year. And a recent study by AT&T says that 61% text on their phones while driving, while another 70% admit to being on their phone in some way.
Do you want to answer that? Nah, I never with a kid in the car.
It's okay. I'm not here.
This made the company create their It Can Wait campaign, showing drivers possible consequences of using their phone while driving. Their most recent PSA is getting many people to talk about the increasing dangers of this issue.
And while AT&T is spreading the word, many families know the tragedy firsthand. One man is launching his own campaign to help prevent any more deaths. Focal Point's Macy Krupasevich joins us now with that powerful story.
Thanks, Michaela. Jacob Freibler was a teen driver doing what many teens do, texting while driving. Unfortunately for him and his family, that distraction turned tragic.
It's the difference between life and death. Everyone says it won't catch up to you, and it might not. But Jacob was 17, caught up to him real quick.
These stickers on this car and these wristbands in my hand tie in greatly with our phones we have in our cars with us nowadays. Texting and driving accidents have increased greatly over the years, showing that a few seconds can automatically change someone's lives. The Freibler family knows this firsthand.
Jake was going to come home to help me. Little did I know he's coming home early for once, first time ever.
17-year-old Jacob Freibler was on his way home from work June 18, 2014, when he made the fatal mistake of texting while driving.
And he's the one who crossed the center line and is texting and gets T-boned. I mean, not T-boned, but hit head on. So he was the one who caused it.
In just a few short seconds, his car was totaled and his life was over, but his family's pain endures.
It changed our whole life. There is a new normal, but we don't know what it is yet.
Rescue crews found the phone in his lap at the scene, and Jake's dad is using that special weapon to hopefully teach a lesson and prevent future families from loss.
It's kind of like a reminder that this doesn't care whether you live or die, but it also has something on here that's priceless. Everyone leaves a voicemail, right? So I have his voice. So we can call us whenever we want to. And we do. We do.
Jim Freibler takes his message to schools and driver's ed classes, turning his pain into a powerful message.
You know, there's kids that are like, you're a hero, and I'm like, I'm not a hero. I'm just doing what I'm compelled to do. I'm just doing what my son wants me to do.
But along with emotion, he preaches a very simple lesson.
My thing is, shut it off or hand it to your friend next to you. Let them do all the texting, let them take care of it. You need to focus on driving.
The main message he promotes is one he created himself, one that he prints on every poster, shirt, and sticker.
For me, it's stay alive. Don't text and drive. That's me. There's a lot of them out there, but that's me.
No matter how tough some days may be, Jim Freibler and his wife stay positive and do their very best to move forward in memory of their son, Jake. In Grand Rapids, Macy Krupasevich, Focal Point News. The family is encouraging everyone to take the pledge online to help end distracted driving today. The pledge can be found on their Facebook memorial page named Stay Alive, Don't Text and Drive.
What a tragic story. Thanks for sharing that, Macy. I know my first accident, I was texting and driving, and luckily I just rear-ended someone. There's so much more at stake, and you know, after the break, we'll learn what MSU no longer tolerates on campus.
And find out how MSU researchers are tracking depression with a new app.
When do we give up? When do we just close our eyes and say, that's it? This water's too polluted. This disease too far along. To a Spartan, the answer is simple. Never. Because Michigan State was founded on the belief that our purpose is to make the world a better place. And when you're open to unconventional thinking, value people's differences, and are willing to forge true partnerships, then and only then can you solve the world's toughest problems. Like renewable energy, clean water, and Parkinson's disease. Because we know our true triumph lies in the impact we make on the world around us. And after all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
MSU students gathered to watch presidential candidates square off in their first televised debate.
And MSU is now a tobacco-free campus. Focal Point's Whitney Burney joins us with these stories and more in our on-campus report. Whitney?
Thanks, Julie. Michaela.
It was standing room only in Kedzie Hall, even after class got out, for a lesson on history in the making. Many firsts happened on Monday: the first presidential debate, the first time a woman took the podium as a candidate, and the first time the MSU Political Science Department gathered to watch Trump and Clinton go head-to-head. Students ultimately had one thing on the brain: policy. Connor Birdie, a World Politics junior, says he's ready to talk about the big issues affecting his generation, and says it's more important now than ever for students to pay attention.
This is your leader, you know. I always say if you don't have a voice in your society, then someone else has a voice for you. So if you care about the things that are happening around you, tune in and pay attention.
The turnout was way bigger than the political science department expected, and we'll keep you updated as to whether or not there's another watch party for the next debate. A sad, historic day of remembrance for all Americans, and members of the MSU community honored those who lost their lives 15 years ago. It started at the Rock, where both the MSU College Democrats and Republicans gathered for a moment of silence. This has become an annual event the last few years. The group set aside their political differences and recognized something they say is important to all Americans.
It really shows a lot to not only students, but I mean adults as well, that the fact that Democrats and Republicans, regardless of if we're college students or, you know, old or young, that we can come together and pay our respects to, you know, a terrible tragedy.
And even in a divisive national election year like this year is, we still come together to show that we are here to mourn what has happened and how much it changed our country.
A cappella group Capitol Green sang the national anthem, and organizers say this is one of their biggest gatherings since the memorial start in 2012. MSU has joined the ranks of schools nationwide to ban tobacco products from campus. Focal Point's Julie Dunmeyer shows us how students are adapting to the new policy.
Wes Walters lit up for the first time at a part-time job.
I just, started bumming cigarettes, felt bad about it, so I started buying packs.
But as of August 15th this year, he won't be able to smoke on Michigan State's campus anymore because the university went tobacco-free.
I understand where the university is coming from. I think it's, at its core, an okay idea. I just don't think they did it in the right way.
That hasn't stopped him from smoking on campus.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not in places where foot traffic is.
Wes says MSU's tobacco ban, though beneficial to those who don't consent to secondhand smoke, affects his education.
Like when I'm jonesing for a cigarette, I can't really focus on what I'm supposed to be focusing on, which is school. But if I just go outside and smoke one cigarette, I can come back in for a 2-hour lecture and be fine.
The university put the ban in place as part of a new health initiative to prevent litter and to encourage students and faculty to practice healthier habits. But MSU Police Captain Doug Monette says there are more than just health and environmental risks to Wes's habit.
This is going to be a culture change here at Michigan State University because this is a new ordinance that has never been here before.
People on Michigan State's campus who want to use tobacco are going to have to walk across the street in order to use those products, or else they risk getting a $150 ticket.
It's an ordinance which is a civil infraction.
That means the roads, the buildings, even personal vehicles, all of campus. And MSU freshman Olivia Barada says when she dropped her bags on campus and saw the signs,
I love it, yeah.
That's really cool. She was all for it.
I don't know. I think smoking cigarettes is very not good, and I think any effort to reduce that and reduce the people who have to be by it and secondhand smoke and stuff like that is really, really awesome. So far, I haven't seen any cigarettes on campus.
One reason Barada might not see smoking is all the cigarette urns on campus have been sent to the graveyard here at the MSU surplus store.
Yeah, I don't want to litter or do that, so unless I want to bring my cigarette inside and throw it away in a trash can, there's not many options.
In East Lansing, Julie Dunmeyer, Focal Point News.
MSU is one of the last universities in Michigan to go tobacco-free. With the beginning of a new Spartan school year comes a record-breaking number of applications. Michigan State University received more than 37,000 applications nationwide for the 2016-2017 school year. The Office of Admissions accepted nearly 25,000, an increase of over 2,000 applications from last year. MSU President Luana K. Simon says the increase in applicants is reflected in the value that parents and students place on a Michigan State education.
The opportunities to do research, to do engagement in the community, to do international programming, to try to think about themselves making a difference, and then end up with a degree that can be valued and recognized anywhere in the world.
Official enrollment for the 2016-2017 freshman class is expected to be just under 8,000 students. A collaborative effort from the MSU's College of Engineering and Counseling Center is helping students battle depression through new mobile technology. Thanks to a $1 million grant from the NSF, the new technology called IC can track a student's daily behavior, such as dietary practices, travel, exercise, and sleep patterns through a wristband or a smartphone. The data is then stored and reflected through the IC mobile app and online website. Engineering assistant Professor Mi Zhang helped develop the app, and he says this technology can help identify the true extent of a student's depressive or mental state.
Especially for people who suffer from depression, they are always thinking something very negative. Actually, it's not. So there's a significant bias from their oral description of their daily behavior, but this technology really give you a very objective, continuous tracking of those behavior that really matters.
By the project's completion, Zhang hopes IC will be used in doctors' offices and counseling centers across the country. That's what's happening on campus. I'm Whitney Burney.
Thanks, Whitney. Coming up in sports, the Spartan football team is moving forward after the loss to Wisconsin. But during the game, the team recognized former kicker Mike Sadler, who was killed in a car crash last July.
And basketball coach Tom Izzo has his own Hall of Fame induction. That's all next in sports.
Ever wonder where courage comes from? Where one finds the strength to believe in solutions that seem impossible? It takes a Spartan's will to understand that by working together we can solve the world's biggest problems, from renewable energy to fighting malaria. After all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Michigan State kicked off Big Ten play last Saturday, hosting the Wisconsin Badgers in Spartan Stadium. Both teams ranked in the top 11 heading into the matchup, and Sparty, he was pumped. Badgers quarterback Alex Hornibrook gets his first career start, and he finds tight end Eric Steffes to give Wisconsin a 7-3 advantage. Spartans down 13-6 at the half, but this was the backbreaker. LJ Scott loses the ball. Fumble! Wisconsin's Leo Musso picks it up for the scoop and score, and check out that spin move. The Spartans could not find the end zone as Wisconsin steamrolls past Michigan State 30-6. Head coach Mark D'Antonio emphasized the loss was not based on ability, but lack of execution.
We hold on to the football, and all of a sudden we go down and score. It's 13-all. Maybe the game changes, but it sort of is what it is. I don't think that the game flip-flopped that drastically because of our abilities. I think we made mistakes, and they forced us into mistakes, and they should be congratulated for that.
The Spartans will travel to Indiana to take on the Hoosiers tomorrow night. Kickoff is scheduled for 8 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. The defense looks forward to the challenge of stopping the Hoosiers' fast-paced offense, as senior captain Demetrius Cox explained earlier this week.
I mean, it's a different approach, obviously throughout practice and things like that. It's a different approach, conditionally, and then you have to really make sure that you have everything down, that you're ready to just react. So that way, when the fast-paced, big plays like that come, you're ready to just do it instead of thinking about it and slowing down.
Now, earlier this week, former Spartan Mylon Hicks was fatally shot outside a nightclub in Calgary. Police have charged 19-year-old Nelson Lugella with second-degree murder. Hicks was playing football for the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League and was a member of MSU's 2013 Big Ten Championship and Rose Bowl team. Mark D'Antonio and the rest of the Spartans said the news rocked the Spartan football program.
Mylon's the type of guy that loved football. He loved competing. He went at it 100 miles an hour, and he would be very disappointed in us if we did not do that on a game-by-game basis throughout practice and everything that we tried to accomplish here.
In honor of Hicks, the football program will wear black shoes, black socks Saturday night against Indiana, and a number 6 will be placed on the back of each helmet. Hicks was 23. Earlier this year, Michigan State traveled to South Bend to take on Notre Dame in the battle for the megaphone. The rivalry was reborn, and the game did not disappoint. With the win over the Irish, Michigan State seized the megaphone and currently hold all 4 of their rivalry trophies. The Spartans scored 36 unanswered points, beginning with its incredible hookup between quarterback Tyler O'Connor and wide receiver Donnie Corley. Incredible. Later, RJ Shelton scampers in for a touchdown, extending the lead to 15-7 at the half. But MSU running back Gerald Holmes, he stole the show. He carried the rock 13 times for 100 yards and 2 scores, including this 73-yard burst. Michigan State inducted 8 new members into the Athletics Hall of Fame last week. This year's inductees included Eric Allen, Don Beam, Trevor Harris, Steve Jude, and Kademian, Patty Radins, Mike Sadler, and Ken Popejoy. Popejoy capped off the ceremony with advice and a warm message for all the current MSU athletes who received their letter jackets.
Wear your jacket with pride. Honor your teammates today, as they will be your teammates forever, but also, as you can see from this wonderful outpouring of teammates from mine, your friends forever too.
After the tragic loss of Mike Sadler over the summer, the selection committee waived the 10-year waiting period, allowing Sadler to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Mike's mother, Karen, accepted the honor.
In 5 years, Mike earned unparalleled success both on the field and off, as well as earning 2 degrees, one in engineering and one in public policy. He had incredible opportunities here at Michigan State, just like each one of you has receiving your letter jackets today. And if he was standing here in front of you, he'd say, it's great that you've achieved what you have, but it's what you do going forward that matters.
Izzo joined Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, Jerry Reinsdorf, Cheryl Swoops, and Yao Ming in the class of 2016. The 25th ranked MSU men's soccer team hosted the Bowling Green Falcons at Deep Martin Stadium this week. The Spartans came out strong in the first half with 6 shots on goal and 3 corner kicks, but it wasn't until the second half where sophomore forward Ryan Sirkowski scored the Spartans' first and only goal of the game. And although the game ended with a controversial call, Coach Rensing said there are no hard feelings between the two teams.
I just think it was kind of a perfect storm. We've never had any issues with them, and nor do I expect to in the future. They're a very class team. It was just one of those things where there was a questionable call at the end and a lot of emotions, and it just kind of all steamrolled together.
The Spartans will take on Ohio State on Sunday in Columbus. This summer, former Spartan rower Emily Reagan added an Olympic gold medal to her impressive resume. The upstate New Yorker was the 2010 Big Ten Rower of the Year and is the first former Spartan rower to win Olympic gold. But she said being around so many great athletes was one of the best highlights during her time in Rio.
In a place with all of the top athletes in every Olympic sport, and so walking around in the Olympic Village and in the dining hall there is pretty cool. I mean, you just getting to see all those athletes is one of the highlights.
And that's what's happening in a very busy week in local sports. Julie, Michaela, back to you.
Thanks, Matt. And finally, building the foundation towards a brighter future. The Greater Michigan Construction Academy is giving students of all ages an opportunity to learn a lost art, skilled trades.
Focal Point's Matt Micah takes a break from sports to show us how the demand for vocational training is very high.
I was working in the trade already.
Christopher Spencer is hoping to build his future and expand his skills.
I was doing interior carpentry, so I did that for 5 years, so this was easy to me.
The Greater Michigan Construction Academy is giving people a chance to succeed through educational programs with classroom and hands-on experiences.
In the long run, once you get out doing your own jobs and stuff, it'll help a lot because you'll actually be able to do stuff and not have to call like your bosses or other people a million times and have them explain to you what to do.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in May 2016, there were 7,200 construction jobs in the Lansing area alone. But there's not enough skilled workers to fill these jobs.
It still is frustrating when people mess up and you have to go back and redo it, but it's just kind of part of the job when you have different people working on it.
And with a high demand of construction jobs, the Academy is a stepping stone for workers who are trying to shape their own career.
So you actually gotta want this. You know, I live in Detroit, so I'm coming an hour and a half here. I'm gonna get everything. You know what I mean? I just want it.
I've learned a lot through these classes. Doing the stuff in the field, you don't really know what you're doing, but when you have the classes going along with it, it actually makes you understand what you're doing.
Teachers here say It's important to learn proper techniques, avoid bad habits, and realize that safety comes first.
Safety is my first goal, so I don't want to get hurt.
It's the freedom beyond a cubicle or a corner office that makes this job so enjoyable.
All these kids now just want to go in and get a desk job because they think that's where the actual money is.
Yeah, that's got a nice little laser on there.
And what they don't realize is you can actually like get out there and use your hands and make just as much money working out in the field doing something you love every day than sitting at a desk being miserable.
In Lansing, I'm Matt Micah, Focal Point News.
Well, that's our show tonight.
We leave you now with the sound of the MSU Symphony Band. Good night.